Hello and welcome to WD18, the Watford fan channel with myself, Jacob Coleshaw, Sam Yuko, Charlie's Azera to talk about Watford's late draw against Sheffield Wednesday at Vicarage Road in the Tuesday night kickoff. There was Champions League, there was Championship football. I think ours was probably, I don't really know how to describe that, lads. Now, sort of looking back on it, about almost 24 hours on it, it had a little bit of everything. Sam, how are you this morning, this afternoon, today, after watching that Watford performance and result ultimately as well?
Well, it's a bit of a weird one. Like, to be honest with you, I'm not overly disappointed, and not because because the performance was awful yesterday, and we'll talk about that, of course. And I spoke to you two about this the other week, but I'm just feeling a bit disconnected, maybe at the moment. Like, and I don't think I'm the only one feeling like that. You look at the stadium yesterday; it was completely empty. It felt like a Carabao Cup fixture at times. It was so quiet. This isn't a slight on Watford fans at the moment. I just think it's a reflection on where Watford are. And the atmosphere was just wasn't there last night. And I think that stemmed immediately from seeing the lineup even before the game, that 4-4-2 again. And yeah, I think that sort of carried over into today, that even though we drew, feels like a bit like a loss, but yeah, just feeling a little bit neutral towards it. Don't really have the energy to get too annoyed about that.
16,200 at Vicarage Road yesterday, according to the club. Charlie, you watched this one from afar. How did you process that game?
I watched from afar. You mean the Rookery end?
He wishes he was watching it from afar.
That's really bad of me. I thought you were watching that through Sky.
It's fine, mate.
Sam, we were all there, weren't we? We all witnessed that.
Yeah. How did I? Just one of those games. We're going into it thinking after a good result against Norwich on Saturday, but I think we all our video in Junction Caf, which you can still watch, which we all enjoyed. We all said that it was a good result, but a bad performance, and there was a lot of concerns raised. And we were talking about the opportunity to make it back-to-back wins for the first time since February, when we beat Luton after beating Middlesbrough and Luton. That was the last time we had back-to-back wins. And Watford, yet again, are being an unserious football club and couldn't get their stuff together to beat a Sheffield Wednesday team who are by far the worst team in the division. They lost their previous 4 before this, 8 of the last 10. They've only got 1 win all season. Obviously, really struggling off the pitch issues, going into administration with the points deduction. And to be fair to them this season, they've shown some really plucky performances. But the fact that a Watford team who have ambitions of playoffs or promotion couldn't win yesterday was pretty desperate. And yeah, I hear what Sam's saying, but even after the result on Saturday and going into this game, it should have been a tap in there to kind of start building a bit of momentum going into the Christmas period. But I feel like we always say with this Watford team, it's 1 step forward, 2 step backwards.
Yeah, it felt like that yesterday. I have to say, lads, even when Semedo scored the equaliser, it was probably the most underwhelming sort of celebrations for a goal I can remember. I don't know about you guys, but I don't know. It was like there was a sort of relief that we'd managed to get an equaliser, because it would have been a little bit embarrassing in a sense.
Sorry, Jacob. Sam, how did you see the goal from where you were?
Yeah, I'd left. I can't lie. It got to about, how long was that on? About 9 minutes at the end or something like that. Yeah, I think it got to about 93, and I thought, God, I just can't couldn't. Yeah, just couldn't stomach it. So I decided to go. And then the way that I normally go out, couldn't go out that way, so I had to walk back across the Rookery. Thought I'd stick my head sort of back in, like through the bit where, like when you walk into the stand. And just as I did that, I saw the ball going into the net. Didn't celebrate, just turned around and left the ground, because it's still felt like
that's got to be a fine. I'm not having that. Leave it early. Shocking.
But before we do dissect the Watford performance, though, and Charlie just touched on it there. Huge credit to Sheffield Wednesday, particularly their fans as well. Midweek coming down from Yorkshire, been a really difficult season for them, both on and off the pitch. Hopefully, a more positive future now that Chansiri has left the club. And yeah, I thought the effort, the energy levels that they showed with quite a thin squad last night, that they equipped themselves really well. And yeah, bittersweet feeling, I think, seeing Harry and Mass have a really good performance for them as well, thinking what might have been.
He agreed. He was their pick of the bunch, wasn't he? I thought he was absolutely brilliant down that left side. Really dealt with Mama pretty well. And then even when he came off in the second half, it's just there was this, you forget that Amas is only 18 years old and there's a level of class, and you wonder where he will go at Man United when he returns. But agreed, Sam, on Sheffield Wednesday, and particularly their fans as well. That's like a big trip on a Tuesday night. They know the situation they're in and they were loud throughout. From a Watford perspective, I wanted to get into it straight away because I don't know whether we're overreacting slightly, lads, and correct me if I'm wrong, only because in the first half we did have 2-3 glaring opportunities to put ourselves ahead. I think of Chatford Datsy's cutback. I think of Mama's one, which he skied over. Just two coming to me straight away.
Imran
Loser. So it wasn't a case of us not creating chances, which has been a problem for us before, Charlie. Or am I being a little bit too soft on the performance and saying, well, actually, you know, we were a little bit unlucky. Well, I'd say unlucky. We weren't unlucky by any stretch. I want to make that very clear. But on another day, if our finishing is a bit better, including the penalty as well, our XG in the end was like 2.8. And what I'm trying to say is we've created a lot of clear-cut opportunities and we haven't found the back of the net until right at the death.
Yeah, I was really kind of tussling in my mind about what's the truth about this fixture and the performance and who was at fault, really, because anyone looking at this game and looking at the numbers will think, oh, it's just one of those games. Watford missed 6 big chances in the game, which is pretty mad. Like you said about the amount of shots, I think 23 shots, almost 3 XG, obviously missed a penalty as well. So a lot of people would say it's just one of those games. However, I think this is one for the eye test, really, because although we did create loads of chances, and I think especially in the first half, there was some really nice play, especially down the right between Marmara and Gakia. I thought Dumbia played quite well yesterday, especially his link-up play. But this 4-4-2 shape, and we spoke about it last time, is just not... I just don't see it as a viable option for us, and it's not going to equate to success for Watford, not only for kind of attacking, and yeah, we are creating chances, but if you refer back to what I said about the team we were playing in Sheffield Wednesday, and in that sense, you're not seeing like really nice patterns or anything, are you? We're kind of giving it to our players. The amount of time like an Irukunda got it yesterday in the attacking third, or a Tom Ince, or even like a Loser, and they're all standing there and not knowing who to pass to. It's just, I thought it was a really bad day for Javi and the majority of the players yesterday. And then you look at kind of defensively, the 4-4-2, it just feels like every time we turn the ball over for Sheffield Wednesday's goal, Loser and Kayembe lost 2 duels in the middle. And like every game in the last four games, Lou Orns has just done a tweet actually showing the turnovers. The minute we turn over in midfield, because there's only 2 in there, we've got their whole attack against our back line. We haven't got any kind of protection. And that's what we saw yesterday. We lost the midfield battle, really, really cheap ball down the right, poor crossing. Max Elaine should have done better with a header. And then it drops on the edge of the box, which you're hoping a defensive midfielder sweeps up. Loser and Kayembe nowhere to be seen. And I think, is it Neil McNeil? He's got the time to take a touch and rifle it home. So really, really worrying. I thought it was a bad one for Javi, if I'm honest, yesterday. A lot of players didn't perform, and we, like I said, we could have been looking at a 3-4-1 game, but I'm looking more big picture stuff. And if we continue like this, playing against better teams, we're going to lose a lot more games than we win.
Well, it's another game, Sam, where we've gone behind again. I think the biggest thing for me with that is when we're either drawing or we're ahead, there's almost like this thing with Watford where the option of going sideways and backwards is used a lot more. As soon as we're behind, for some reason, it's like the players know they have to play forward. And that option almost goes out the window, which is why you see in the second half us playing a lot more on the front foot. Also, Sheffield Wednesday did drop back. And I actually thought Sheffield Wednesday deserved to win, by the way. on the whole. I know arguably you could say our finishing and we were decent except for where it counts, but I thought they defended really resolutely, especially in the situation they're in at the minute. But Sam, to sort of bring you to Charlie's point, who's at fault at the moment? Well, I say at fault because it's the bigger picture of what we've only lost one game in the last 8. It's a really interesting situation, this. But for yesterday specifically, is it on the players or the manager?
Trying to throw me a bit of both there, aren't you? For me, my eyes are on Javi a little bit, and I don't really want to be throwing, so much pressure onto the manager. We know the situation at Watford. We know that Javi is undoubtedly under pressure the entire time when Watford aren't winning games, or at least winning back-to-back games and conceding the amount of early goals that we are at the moment. The pressure's on him, no doubt. We just keep persisting with that formation that I think, and the reason why I'm a little bit reluctant to criticise the players here, yes, in individual moments they can be doing better. The defending yesterday again for the goal, I think the cross should have been shut down a bit quicker by I think it was on Boller's side. The midfield nowhere to be seen, but at the same time we're limiting so many players by the shape that we're playing in the 4-4-2. And leaving so many players exposed because of the shape. Charlie just mentioned it there, but whenever the ball's turned over, the prime example was in the Norwich game and to a lesser extent yesterday, when the ball's turned over, it's just attack against defence every single time. And, with all due respect, like I do like our defenders, but they're not absolute world beaters. And it's not a case of a Gabriel, teams like Arsenal can do that because they got Gabriel and Saliba who can do that. Liverpool in their absolute prime, maybe not at the moment, but they had Van Dijk and Konate who clear things up. Unfortunately, we don't have that luxury. And yes, they have some really good moments, Pollock, Elaine, Cabana, Bankwa, whoever's in there. But we're basically relying on them to have absolutely perfect games with the way that we're setting up at the moment. And in the Championship, it's just too difficult to do that when we're leaving our defence so exposed the way we are at the moment. So for me, it's on the manager because we're getting overrun in midfield and it's to the detriment of us defensively.
Agreed. So let's have a look at that team that Javi put out yesterday just to go through it. It was that 4-4-2 or 4-2-2-2, however you want to look at it. But it was the two-man midfield again. It was Baxter, Bowler, Elaine, Pollock, and Ngakia. Chatford-Datsy on the left, Kiembe and Loser as the two in midfield with Mama on the right, and then Dumbia and Kurumgur leading the line. Yeah, I mean... I find this a really fascinating game, Charlie. I really do, because at the end of the day, if we had finished our chances, it could have been 3 or 4. Instead, it just felt very laboured in possession at times. We're not clinical in front of goal at the moment. And I would really like to see this change of system and go to the 4-2-3-1. I think we're all looking at it going, we're made for this system. For whatever reason, Javi doesn't want to do it. Is that because he's set in his ways of his system rather than what's best for the team?
I mean, it would be easy to say, oh, that's all he knows, 4-4-2. But we've seen when he first came in, I think, against Sheffield United, I'm sure that was a 4-3-3 maybe. And then he switched to a 3 at the back. I don't know if that's because kind of players weren't available to him. I can't remember any glaring ones there, but I think Sissoko started in that Sheffield United game, didn't he? But he's obviously fond of this system. We've obviously had success with this system in yesteryear, but you cannot play Edo Kayembe in a two-man midfield. There's not many players. Like, I think Loser just about gets away with it, probably because he's in the top 5 players in the Championship. But even Loser now recently is he's struggling a bit because he's doing so much work out of possession and kind of not getting enough of the ball. So Javi's talked about in his post-match comments about distances and stuff like that, but I'm just really worried that to be fair, we have to caveat about the chances we've made, and that is one thing which I'm struggling with. We are making chances under Javi, we are scoring more goals, but we're also just a lot softer. So I'm just fearful, and we all know what happens at Watford is like if the players don't buy into it, the manager's in trouble. And to be honest, I don't think we're there yet at all because, like I said, with the team in the top 4 divisions who have won the most points from behind, but they can't be enjoying this because it's such a hard game for them. One, they're doing all the extra work because we've got no real possession. We're not controlling the game at all. and they're just getting overrun and getting passed through. So I feel like, I don't know, I just can't see Javi changing. I feel like he's kind of set his stall out a bit now. Can you see him changing?
I can't, Sam. I do think this is his idea. I think this is his system. I think he's seen this work at Watford before, but I think we've always said that this isn't the team that he took over, or at least the team that he did so well with at Watford. I think we're just in a really interesting situation, Sam and Charlie, because I look at last night and it was a poor performance despite the chances created. But as I said, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but since that really good Coventry away performance, I know it was a defeat, but a really good Coventry away performance, we've only lost one game, and that was away from home at Birmingham. But yet the mood around Watford's doesn't really match up and tally up with the points we picked up in that time. So if I look at since November the 1st, when we beat Borough at home 3-0, we won that one, then back-to-back draws against Ipswich, Bristol City, won away at Derby, drew to Preston, then lost to Birmingham. We then beat Norwich, and then we drew to Sheffield Wednesday. But I guess for you, Sam, my question would be does that tell the whole story for us as Watford fans about what we're seeing at the moment? Because the points suggest, if you're a fan from the outside, what's there to moan about?
Yeah, no, I'm sure. Like from the outside, looking at the points and Watford being in that part of the table where we're almost like, if we'd won yesterday, we'd be just outside the playoffs or even level on points with the playoff spots. Haven't checked the table yet, but
we're 11th at the moment. Yeah, you're right. We're only 3 points off 6th.
Yeah, so from the outside, you're thinking, well, Watford are well in this playoff hunt, but I think it's just the eye test, and even the numbers don't necessarily match up to the performances that we're seeing. How yesterday, yes, we created a lot of chances, but at times the performance was slow. We lacked any sort of energy, which was really frustrating to see in the ground, because I don't want to be disrespectful at all here to Sheffield Wednesday, but they were there for the taking. In reality, if you look at the squad that they've got and the positions that Watford found themselves into, but it was that naivety at times and not learning lessons. That's the frustrating thing for me at the moment, is that we're not learning our lessons. We keep falling behind in games, particularly in wide areas. We're really poor at stopping crosses, which for me is a big concern, because every single game we seem to be conceding from similar situations and the ball coming out to the edge of the box. That's the big concern for me. And the other thing I'd say is that a lot of people, and I've said this myself, that Watford aren't far off hammering a team. Like, we could win a game 5-0. That could have been yesterday if you look at the big chances. 6-0. Sorry, we had 6 big chances, you said, Charlie. So on another day, we win that game 6-1. And if you watch that game, we missed all those opportunities. My concern is, with the shape that we're in at the moment, on another day, we're also as far off losing a game 5 or 6-1, I think. To me, which shows the inconsistencies of this Watford side. Our results are, I don't know the exact now, but it must be something like 1-7, drawn 7, lost 6. And we're as close to thumping a team that we are to getting thumped ourselves. If Norwich were in better form, I've no doubt in my mind they could have scored 6 or 7 or 8 goals the other day. I mean, maybe not that many, but we're not that far off getting thumped as we are to thumping a team. And that's the concern for me. There's just no consistency with the performances at the moment.
Well, you spot on there, Sam, in terms of the record. 20 games played, won 7, drawn 7, lost 6. Charlie, I saw you nodding your head there at what Sam was saying. Do you, I'm assuming you agree that we are so close to beating a team quite comfortably, but also it could be being served the same result the other way as well?
Yeah, I totally agree. I just wanted to add a bit of context. Well, you say we've only lost 1 in our last 8. If we look at our last 4 home games, Bristol City, who had most of their best players out, Preston at home, half decent team, but if you're going to get promoted, you want to beat teams like that. Norwich, 23rd in the league. Sheffield Wednesday, 24th in the league. And yeah, we haven't lost any of those games, but we've got 6 points. So we might as well have. So I think that's the problem. And I think we're going to come up against better teams. We got Stoke coming up, Leicester, Birmingham again, Norwich again, Bristol City, Hull, who are scoring for fun. So it's one of those. I half thought, were we a bit more solid under Petzolano, but we were blunt up top, and now we're completely the other end of the spectrum, where we're scoring more goals, but we're a lot easier to score against. And do you know what? I'd probably take that. But the thing is, I just don't think it needs much to make ourselves a tiny bit solid platform players in the right position. And we have got so many talented players, just not in there. We're just not getting the best out of them. That's the big issue for me. So I think that was a really good point what Sam said. We could beat someone 5-0, but we could easily be on the end of a Tonkin as well.
Which is more likely for you two at the moment? If you had to say what will happen first between winning 5-0 and losing 5-0, which one would happen first?
Probably the latter, Sam, for me. Probably the latter. And I don't want to sound too negative, which is, again, bizarre when you look at sort of the run of results we've had. But ultimately, going behind in games is not sustainable. And that is going to catch up with us very, very soon, I think. I do agree with Charlie. I think you made a very good point there. If you actually look at the teams we've played, even Derby's a great example where, we've come back 3-2, but it was a Kurumgul goal out of nothing. Absolutely out of nothing that has got us back in the game. I even think of Norwich, a Kurumgul header out of nothing, which has given us the lead again. My point is that in the moments, actually, we've been quite good. In the key moments in games, we've actually been quite good, particularly going forward. But it is not sustainable to keep going behind in games. I guess my question to you lads would be: how do we become more consistent? Is that team selection? Is that player performances? I felt watching yesterday, lads, that Javi let his players down there with that tactical setup, particularly in the second half. There was one point where, when you have the two wide players and we're going for the game, and you can see him on the sideline trying to push up and tell the players, push up, push up. At one point, we had 4 players standing in a line in the final third. It was Kurumgul, Dumbia, Mama, and Iran Kunda stood literally in a line. No one was running behind. I think I can remember once a ball was played over the top, Dumbia down the channel. Everything was to feet. Everyone was dropping in. I struggle with that a little bit. I struggle with it. I don't want to be too negative. What are the positives from yesterday? Who were the standouts? Who were the players that you looked at and went, again, they're performing? I thought Pollock was good at the back. I thought Loser was really good again. I was surprised Kurumgul got taken off, by the way, when we were looking for a goal. Why would you take off our number 9?
For me, the man of the match.
Sorry.
For me, the man of the match was Jeremy Ngakia.
Ngakia?
I thought he won every single tackle. I haven't looked at the stats. He looks like an offensive threat. He can beat a man. He couldn't get a bit of space. He was looking for Luca to get that cross in, but I think he's been exceptional this season. I thought Dumbia was really good link-up wise, bringing it down. His connection with Luca isn't there. They're not linking. They're not working as a pair as well as you'd hoped. I thought you're right about Matty and putting Matty up front. That's what gave us the equalising goal. He won that duel and it fell to Semedo. Ironically, that goal was the one that the keeper probably should have saved, although he had a good game, really, didn't he, the goalkeeper?
Absolute pro at time wasting, by the way, as well. Oh, my goodness.
Well, yeah, that's a tactic, him sitting down, but we were like, that was the part of the game where we were at our best and the momentum. I thought that was quite shrewd. I did see our friend Mike Parkin tweet about him going down and they deserved it for us scoring late. But so there are positives, and we've got so many good players. I'm just frustrated looking at players like Iran Kunda, who we know he's a talented player, but at the minute we're just not getting anywhere near the best out of him because we're bringing him on in games. We're putting him wide right. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't really know where to go. He's got no real connection with any of the players around him. And then another positive, I thought Marma was exceptional again in the first half. Obviously, he misses the sitter, but he was great. That stupid foul that got him a yellow probably killed him and was the reason that he got brought off at half time.
Sam?
Yeah, Marma was my big positive. And I think a lot of people would be quite frustrated with his performance, and rightly so, with the number of missed opportunities. He could have had a hat-trick in that first half, Marma. But for me, for looking at a young player, how old is he? 18, 19 years old, Marma. The way that he was getting himself into those positions, even when he was missing those chances, I don't think at any point his confidence ever really dropped, and he kept on working to get back into those positions. So, not quite there yet with Marma, but really, really positive early signs for me.
Yeah, he's just turned 20 off Mane Mama, so we've got a really good one there, haven't we? We've got a really good one. Lads, I mean, we can dissect the goal. I mean, really soft goals conceded, by the way. Kiembe, flat-footed. The ball goes out wide again. Charlie, I don't know if there was a couple of screenshots to dissect any of these moments, but it's again another cross from the right. I do think Baxter maybe should have done better for the goal at first glance.
I'm not too sure. A couple of screen grabs. This chance for George at the start of the game. That's the one part of his game he needs to improve. That is a gilt-edged chance. Nice. The pace on the ball's nice. Centre of the goal, and he's hit it straight at the goalkeeper. This was just the space that they had for their goal. Mama's big attempt, if you look at it like that, that's a pretty glaring opportunity. This is what I found most interesting, like Loser's penalty, which is obviously a huge moment in the game. My first thought is, why is Loser taking it if Kayembe scored the last one?
Agreed.
Odd with that. And then when I was in the ground, I was kind of like, I knew I saw Kayembe was literally like, it felt like he was in the box earlier than anyone else. So I was not surprised. Firstly, Loser hits the crossbar, which is jumping. He should be doing his job. But when I looked at this actual screen grab, it's a lot closer than I actually thought for Kayembe.
Wow.
Is he in the box?
If he's on the line, he's in the box.
Yeah, maybe that it's a frame forward before Loser touches it. But maybe this one's a bit clearer. He does look more. He does look a bit more in the box there, just as Loser's connecting. So it was the probably right decision. It was probably, again, more poor football IQ from Kayembe, I suppose. But
do you know what's interesting about that, Charlie? Just to jump in, is if that was in the Premier League, you can actually see there's a Sheffield Wednesday player encroaching as well, just next to him. You see them to Kayembe's right. There's two players. I wonder if there was VAR, it would have just been retaken.
Well, we saw that a few years ago. We saw the same situation when we beat Man United 4-1, and Ismail Assar had a penalty saved by Dav De Gea in front of the rookery. Kiko Femenia scored the follow-up, but the goal was ruled out and we had to retake the penalty because I can't remember who it was. It was in the box for Man United. So maybe it should have been retaken, but yeah, we got to, it's not an excuse, is it really?
The referee was pants yesterday.
Oh my word.
He wasn't great. He was not great at all.
Who did he take out? He took someone out, didn't he? When they were like 1-on-1.
Yeah. There was a moment in the second half. I don't know if I actually forgot to say, when Harry Mass skied it into the upper Graham Taylor, he hit me.
Oh, did not get your head on it.
So I had to chuck it back down, and the fella next to me was like, "Don't throw it on now. We're on the attack." I was like, "All right, mate." So then I had to chuck it down to the ball boy. Lads, where do we go from here? Because we could probably sit here all day and talk about where we need to improve. We go Wrexham. Where we need to improve. Sam, what do you want to see in the immediate short term with this Watford team going into Saturday? What do you want to see in the performance compared to yesterday?
Well, from the outset, because this will impact the performances, I want to see a change of shape and move away from the 4-4-2, because if we don't see that change, then in reality we'll probably see a very similar performance going away to a solid Wrexham side, who obviously very, very different context with the football clubs, but I think they're roughly mid-table as well. But they've been quite good at home, I think. Recently beat Coventry as well. So if we're not careful, we could struggle. And for me, it's going to be about a change of shape. And then from there, the performance levels will follow, and just making sure that we start the game strongly and don't concede any soft goals. I've realised what we quite like doing is that we'll start well for about 10 minutes and then we'll have like a bit of a nothing spell between 10 minutes and 25 minutes where we'll normally concede in that period before we pick up towards the end of the first half. So, just get that solid away performance in there, I think, and hopefully get something, which I feel like we need to win now after we lost. They lost yesterday, drew yesterday.
Yeah, agreed. Yesterday was just one of the most frustrating games I've watched in a while, Charlie.
Yeah. If we don't change shape, which is a strong possibility, Kayembe can't be in the middle. Like yesterday, we were counting his touches every time he was on the ball. He was taking up to 4 to 6 touches. I'd rather
George was taking too many touches as well.
Yeah, I'd just get Hector back in there. Like, we know what Hector can do. We know he's had a bit of bad form. I'd even have Mendy in there. I'd even have like a Lane in there to start passing quickly. Look, Kayembe is what he is. I think he's solid as a 10, like in attacking areas. But I think he's costing us at the moment. He's one of our weak links. Hate having to kind of mention one player, but I think
Why
it's
did
pretty.
you have us picking him over those options, Charlie?
Derby away. I don't know. It feels so obvious to me. This is a really strange thing in football when you have one whole narrative that the whole fan base but the manager sees something different, and it happens quite a lot. And you're like, are they being stubborn? Is it going to click? But like on the evidence base, I just can't see it clicking. And yeah, Kembe can't. For me, he can't be in that two if we're going to play a two. I'd much rather us go 4-2-3-1. We've talked about a lot, but it's just that midfield battle that we're always losing. Even the last game, he didn't go in for a 50-50. This game, it led to a goal. But again, I just don't think it's his position. So I'm sure Javi will make changes because Javi doesn't seem happy at all. In his last two, he's been pretty strong, and he's been not putting it on the players. He would never do that because he's got good kind of man management, but he's definitely not taking ownership and it's saying it's his shape. It's we're not doing things right. So interesting.
And finally, Vivaldo Semedo with the equaliser was a decent strike. I mean, the keeper should save it. I just found it. It was. I mean, the substitution was justified in the end. I just found it really weird that when you're chasing a goal, you take Kurumgor off, because if you're getting more crosses into the box and you're floating more balls into the air, surely you want your best header on the pitch. I just found that a little bit strange. But it did come from a long ball. And then, to be fair, lads, when we scored that, I was thinking, "There's another minute here. We might get a winner." But yeah, we were. I don't think it didn't feel deserved, and it felt quite low key. I think at full time at Vicarage Road. But it's another point on the board if you want to flip it into the positive, lads. Any final thoughts before we wrap up? I have a couple of bits of housekeeping, but anything else on the game?
Quick fire Wrexham predictions.
That little silence said it all, by the way. I'm going to go 2-2.
I think we'll win. I think it's going to be very Watford to go to Wrexham and get a win. I think we'll win 2-1.
I think we're going to lose 2-1.
Let us know your prediction in the comment section below. Bit of housekeeping, as I said. The Mental Health World Cup, we did a video at the Junction CAF talking about it all. A lot more positive than this video has been. So check that out if you want to get involved. More details will be released on that in due course, but we sort of did a roundup of what's happened so far, how you can get involved. If you want to be involved on the day, if you want to play, all the information is on there, but also on the Mental Health World Cup website too. And also, if you watched that video and if you watched our sort of morning after the day before roundup last time out, we were wearing some jumpers and hoodies. Not that we're wearing them today, but we got a lot of positive feedback. So let us know if you're still up for buying one of them, and all the proceeds would go to Hertfordshire Minds if you'd like to get involved as well. Great stuff, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much to Sam, Charlie, and all of you for watching. A pretty downbeat reaction video, but let us know your thoughts as always, because there is a lot to discuss and lots to sort of take away from that performance and result yesterday. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great rest of your week, and we will be back at the weekend to break down Wrexham away. Up the Hornets. You odds.